Atlas bear was a type of bear found in North Africa. In fact, the only bear native to Africa, and it's been there for quite some time, at least 10,000 years, from dating the bones. It was a brown bear, a subspecies of brown bear, although slightly smaller, with shorter claws, and apparently, according to DNA tests on the bones, it was also quite similar to the polar bear. The Atlas bear is considered remarkable for how late it survived, becoming extinct in allegedly 1870, although this date is extremely dubious. The most recent Atlas bear remains is a femur found in a Moroccan cave, and it's dated between 690 and 750 AD, remarkably 1,200 years before it allegedly went extinct. The Atlas bear was found only in North Africa, and we found bones in present-day Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Morocco, so it never got as far as sub-Saharan Africa. This is an artist's impression of the Atlas bear, and you can note its brownish black fur, and how its claws are a bit shorter than normal brown bears, as well as a shorter muzzle. Additionally, it lacks the white markings often found on other bears' muscles. The Atlas bear is depicted quite frequently on Roman mosaics, and I'll show you some images now. The next depictions here are from Roman mosaics, and whilst it's not entirely clear if they depict Atlas bears or imported bears from other places such as the Syrian brown bear, because obviously Syria was conquered by the Romans, what the Atlas bear ate is not clear. Many sources say it was an omnivore, feeding on acorns, nuts, roots, apparently small mammals and other bugs and insects, which is quite surprising because I would believe a bear of that size would need much more food and more calories to sustain itself. I guess it just ate a lot. Although there are massive sauropod dinosaurs that were completely herbivores, so I mean, the animal kingdom works in strange ways. One thing that I found a bit curious and almost suspicious was after the Roman sources for the Atlas bear, things go a bit silent, and this is weird because in the 1500s Algeria, for example, was conquered by Turkey, and obviously Algeria and other parts of North Africa had their own language and writing systems, but they never wrote about the Atlas bear, which I find a bit weird. And you could justify this, you can say, well look, the Malagasy people didn't write about the elephant bird. That's true, but they didn't have their own system of writing yet, which would explain that. So I find it weird and bizarre that the Atlas bear is talked about in Roman antiquity, and then it's not mentioned for over 1,000 more years. I think that's a bit odd if it wasn't extinct. Now about the most recent bones, on Wikipedia there's some skullduggery going on, because it claims that the most recent ones are dated to 1200 AD, and they cite a source, and I thought, okay, amazing, let's have a look at this source and see these 800-year-old bones. And I read the source, it completely backed up what I just said. So I'm not quite sure where they got 800 from at all, because I read all 20 pages of the source they cited, and nothing about 800 years ago. So that wasn't quite true. The first actual scientific description of the Atlas bear was in 1844, and it was by a man called Heinrich Rudolf Schintz in his work, and this is the translated title, Systematic List of All Mammals Known to Date. And he writes that the bear was shot in Morocco in 1840. This is also where it gets its name from, because it was shot 25 miles away from the Atlas Mountains, and it was a single old female specimen according to the source. It's very important to note that, unlike the Barbary lion, which was around at the same time, there's no photographs, there's no scientific illustrations, museum specimens, or any pelts. Wikipedia claims that the Atlas bear could be found in lots of European zoos, although the only source I could find for this was allegedly the King of Morocco sent a Atlas bear specimen to Marssel Zoo in 1830. But this is quite dubious because firstly it's not in their records at all, and secondly Marssel Zoo wasn't even established until 1854. Going absolutely wildly off topic here, I was watching this video earlier on the 2004 game, the PS2 Series of Unfortunate Events game. Whoa, what a game, brilliant. And it reminded me of my first video game that I got, which was in 2008. That was Lego Batman, which was really good. The ancient Greek philosopher Strabo notes how the North African natives dressed themselves in bearskins for special ceremonies. A bear of Libya was also mentioned by Pliny's contemporaries, and we're told this in an 1825 book, although the 1825 book interestingly does not note that the bear is still alive in 1825. There's alleged to exist a now lost source called the Bear of Mount Atlas by a man called Blyth, and this was written in 1841, and apparently he mentions the alleged 1840 killing and describes the bear as a rare species in that part, and it feeds on roots, scorns and fruits. It doesn't climb very well, and it is stated to be very different looking from any other bear. So this is mentioned in Extinct and Vanishing Mammals of the Old World, which is a 1945 book, but the source it gives, this Blyth, I can't find online, so if anyone in the comments could find a copy, that would be amazing. The 1945 book further states that some of the rumours about the animal are fantastic, and there are no skins available to prove the existence of the animal, although the bones it notes are fossilised from the, and I quote, early Christian era, and not from a more recent period. Another significant sighting is apparently in 1834, where one was killed, but not preserved. This is only referenced a good couple of decades after the fact, however. Another French explorer in 1867 claimed he had discovered fresh bear bones in caves near some mountains, although when they were examined they were found to be thousands of years old. Wikipedia states that the Atlas bear went extinct in 1870, although if you go into the source they cite, which does mention 1870, that claim is completely unsourced and unfounded. Other websites have claimed they went extinct in the 1870s as well, but I haven't seen any contemporary evidence for this whatsoever, meaning in the 1870s nobody mentioned that the last one was killed in 1870. The mystery of when the Atlas bear went extinct is something we may never solve. Maybe it went extinct 1,000 years ago, or maybe just in the last couple of hundred. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.